Most years, we write 1 or 2 fixes columns about the year in social innovation. What were the big ideas, the new trends, this year? It's tempting to sum all that up in a word: never has social innovation seemed less relevant. Although the federal government is never the most nimble innovator, it's normally a prime consumer and amplifier of social innovation. And at times, Washington does produce new ideas. For example, in the Obama administration, federal agencies held prize competitions to solve problems. It was a fast and cheap way to stimulate novel solutions to challenges ranging from detecting moon craters among billions of space images to creating an app to let consumers know if restaurants cheat their workers. Times have changed. Can you imagine Ben Carson's housing department or Jeff Sessions' Justice Department looking for great innovations and combing the evidence for what works best to improve public safety or house more Americans? Neither can I. Instead, they're finding innovative ways to put the fewest Americans possible in housing and the most in prison. But this is a big country, a lot bigger than the federal government. The idea vacuum in Washington means that states, cities, and even neighborhoods are stepping in not only to come up with ways to solve problems but also to spread those ideas. And thanks to President Trump, there's a whole new wave of social change, Americans working to protect democratic norms they see as under threat. Good ideas are more relevant than ever. Here are 3 trends fixes reported on in the past year. For thousands of other stories about new ideas in social change, look at the Solutions Journalism Network's Solutions Story Tracker. Look locally. The Trump administration may be a wasteland of malignant ignorance, but state and city governments are not in red states as well as blue. All over the country, governments as well as hospitals, universities, courts, neighborhood associations, local clubs and businesses are finding local solutions to big problems. Take college completion, for example. It's a huge, nationwide problem that people don't finish college. The 3-year graduation rate from community college in America is just 22%. If you count those who transfer and graduate from any school in 6 years, it's 40%. At many non-selective 4-year colleges, graduation rates are similar. In Tennessee, community college graduation rates have been dismal. Only 26% of those who started in 2009 graduated from any college 6 years later. But Tennessee has a second 2-year college system, the State Network of Colleges of Applied Technology. Here, 82% of students graduate. What these schools do right is to limit flexibility. Flexibility is often seen as a good thing. Students have to work, so let them take a class at a time. But people doing college little by little seldom finish. So Tennessee's technical colleges go in the other direction. Instead of flexibility, students get predictability. They choose their program, picking among careers such as medical assisting, information technology or aircraft mechanics. And that's the only choice they have to make. Their program is preset. Classes are held in a block, for example, every day from 7:45 to 2, or from 4 to 10:45 p.m. Ideas like more structure and guidance for students and block scheduling are successful reforms being tried in numerous states, including Texas, Georgia, and Indiana. Tennessee is now applying them to its regular community college system. It also has become the first state to make community and technical college free through a scholarship and mentoring program, Tennessee Promise. Early results are excellent and other states are noticing, prompted by organizations like Complete College America, an Indianapolis-based group that seeks to identify and spread successful innovations. Deschutes County, home to Bend, Oregon, offers another important example of local ingenuity. The entire county is a declared wildfire hazard area. But as Gregory Scruggs wrote in Fixes in December, a county-sponsored outreach campaign called Project Wildfire works with neighborhoods and homeowners to teach best practices for managing wildfire risk and offers a potential model to help people learn to live in fire-prone territory. The approach largely consists of making sure that flammable plants and materials stay far away from homes, a good idea that other fire hazard areas could adopt. Deschutes has had a lot of wildfires since 2003, but not a single house has burned. What about that other wildfire, the opioid crisis? Ordinary people are finding solutions there as well. When the American Association of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgeons surveyed its members, it found that virtually all of them prescribed opioids. Harold Tu, the director of the Division of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery at the University of Minnesota School of Dentistry, realized that this is really important, because the first exposure to opioids of many young people is when they get their wisdom teeth removed. So he instituted a new protocol at his school. Patients now get ibuprofen and acetaminophen instead, a combination that studies have found works better than opioids to control pain and inflammation after this surgery. In part because of Dr. Tu's work, the association now recommends that ibuprofen, not opioids, be the first-line pain medicine. Go bipartisan. Republicans and Democrats don't disagree about everything, although it might seem that way from looking at Congress. Tennessee's work on college completion is one example of a solution to a problem of national proportions that's being embraced in red and blue states. Another area where this is happening is criminal justice reform. Many states are drastically reducing or even getting rid of the costly, unfair, and harmful system of money bail. Alaska is the latest. Other national leaders include Kentucky, the District of Columbia, Arizona, and New Jersey, under former Governor Chris Christie, a Republican. Reducing mass incarceration is another bipartisan cause, endorsed by Newt Gingrich and Bernie Sanders, the Koch brothers, and Black Lives Matter. Attorney General Sessions is unfortunately an exception. Leaders among the states include California, New York, New Jersey, Texas, South Carolina, Georgia, and Mississippi. Strengthen democracy. The Trump administration's attacks on basic constitutional guarantees and American values present a singular danger to our nation, and history will judge the willingness of most Republicans in Congress to join President Trump's cult of personality. But some good has come of it. Americans have responded with a tidal wave of activism, certainly the most important new trend in social change last year. Much of it is partisan, beginning with the record-breaking Women's March a year ago, on January 21, a march that organizers hope to repeat this January 20 and 21. Then activists plunged in locally, many guided by the organizing advice of the resistance organization Indivisible. Visit your own member of Congress and tell him or her your views on particular issues and the history of successful protest campaigns. But other activism, just as important, has focused not on partisan politics but on improving or defending the structures of democracy, making the political process function better and protecting our rights. My colleague David Bornstein reported on a number of people and organizations that are helping to strengthen civic agency or demonstrating how, even today, democracy can be made to work as the Constitution intends it to work. Bornstein interviewed Eric Liu, whose book, You're More Powerful Than You Think, is full of examples of people creating power out of thin air. As Liu says, to change their communities. On July 4, Bornstein reported on the organization Civic Courage, formerly known as the Center for Citizen Empowerment and Transformation, which trains ordinary people to hold respectful, effective, face-to-face conversations, get offline, with their members of Congress. Their goal is to build bipartisan congressional coalitions on issues such as poverty and climate change. Sam Daly Harris, Civic Courage's founder, has led or trained numerous organizations that have scored bipartisan successes on unlikely issues, for example, passing, by wide margins, legislation to fight global poverty. Republican efforts to suppress minority voting have been, rightly, much in the news. But in some states, even some controlled by Republicans, officials are taking steps to make voting easier for everyone with automatic registration. Research so far shows this favors neither party. 8 states, including Alaska, Georgia, and West Virginia, have adopted automatic voter registration, which is the policy in nearly every other advanced democracy. Last year, at least 32 states introduced proposals to institute or expand it. America's political system was broken before Mr. Trump took office. Gerrymandered electoral districts deprive voters of their voice. For the second time in 5 elections we have a president who lost the popular vote. Our voting machines are vulnerable to manipulation. Our system creates hyperpartisanship, polarization, and gridlock. Money is all important. Fair voting is under attack. The president seeks to undermine democracy further. His attacks create a vicious circle. A concentration of power begets more concentration of power. In this ultra-polarized climate, it might seem naive for people to work towards failing at his job or nonpartisan reforms. It is not. Partisan activism always rises after a new party takes the White House and then wanes. No, we've never seen anything like the reaction to Mr. Trump. But this, too, is likely to fade. It always has. Protecting our free speech, rule of law and voting rights, however, is a virtuous circle. A good democracy begets a better one. Mr. Trump is an unprecedented threat. But he has awakened Americans to the realization that defending our rights is the job of citizens. Especially when a president is failing at his job, we must succeed at ours.